Good morning. Hi. I am coming on a little bit late this morning because I went to my dance class, and that is just a very important part of my being in the best state of mind, in the most juicy, energetic space, and it's just a non-negotiable for me right now. So yeah, I'm coming on a little bit late. So anyway, those of you listening to the replay, it's okay. But I just wanted to apologize to those of you who may have been waiting for me, because I did say I'd be on here every day this week at 10 o'clock for our challenge. Hey Jen, glad you're here. I saw some of your questions pop up just this morning, but if you can ask them here live, I'd prefer to do that than trying to go back and find them, if that's cool with you. Glad you're here. Hi. Yeah, so let me see here, make sure that it's okay, cool, I see it here. So we should be live, and I'm sure people will trickle in here. Apologies again for coming on late, but had to get to dance, and now I feel much better. Cool, yeah. I think it was something about, the thing that I remember the most was like guilt of like choosing one between your doTERRA business and your coaching business. So there were quite a few things that I was thinking that I could cover today, and really what came through in my morning rituals very clearly that I needed to talk about was the number one thing, that if you don't master this, it doesn't matter what strategy you have for increasing your prices, the messaging and all of that. I mean, that is necessary, and I'm never the one to sit here esoterically and kind of talk about, oh, it's all just energy. Like, it is, and then the energy will lead you to the right strategy. All right. So you've obviously done some work energetically if you're here listening to kind of like how exactly you raise your prices. But I'd be remiss in not mentioning, all the work I've done on my money story to get where I am. And so that's really what I want to focus on today. Now, first, what I want to say is that I know you've probably heard this before. You've probably done a lot of work around this already. And so we tend to then go, oh, I don't really know what else I can do, right? Like, I feel like I've done the work that I need to do to heal my money story, and so now I just need to maybe know the strategy. And that's awesome. That's definitely awesome. I just want to remind you, though, that there's levels and layers to your money story getting healed, or getting, the negative of the money story being removed. And so if you're here and you're even like, wanting to grow your own business, you're definitely further along than a lot of other people. But I think that what is so important right now for me to talk about is the fact that those of us who are in a conscious space, who want to do really good things on the planet, we are the ones that we, really need to heal our money story the most, because we have all these beautiful divine ideas and dharmic purposes, these really deep purposes living in our heart that we want to like share with humanity. And so it is so important that we really heal the money story that we have going on. And the thing that's so challenging about that is that it's subconscious, it's really not in our conscious mind. So I think that talking about it for at least 10 minutes and then sharing with you my money story, which I'm going to do, will help. So the first thing I want to kind of mention is that, we just really have this responsibility to start looking at the way that we treat money, the way we think about money, and the way we think about other people who have money. And so that's going to be like your assignment for today, is to really sit down and think about, are you hating on people who have more money in some way? It could be not so obvious, but it can be very subtle. It can be like not in your immediate, circle, but you think about the political environment and you go, oh, see, all these rich people, this is what they've done to the planet. This is, hi, Laura, this is how we are where we are. And so you have like a hate going on, okay? And so these are the little things that I want you to start to look at. When you see someone who's struggling, when you yourself are struggling and you go, look, the gap between the rich and the poor is so huge and it's so wrong and it shouldn't be this way. And like, yes, partly that's right. It shouldn't be that way. But the more that you kind of separate yourself and go, look at that, it's so wrong, make yourself, make them the villain and you the victim, that's part of your money story, that you keep creating that and then you're not part of the solution, right? And so the solution is for you to heal your own money story, for you to start having a different relationship with money so that you can attract more of it, so money wants to come near you more, and then you can actually affect the change on the planet that you came here to change. One of my deepest, biggest beliefs right now for all spiritual conscious entrepreneurs is that, and for myself, this is what I had to change, is that we don't do anyone any good if we're poor, We really came here as conscious beings. We chose to be on the planet at this time, and we have big missions and messages to distribute, if you will. And if we don't have money or we're struggling, we can't do it, right? So this is like the biggest part of the work right now, is for those of us who are conscious to heal this part of our money story, to really start to get, more comfortable with holding more money, to healing our relationship with money. And it goes back to, really our childhood, if you will. Like how did you grow up? What was the story around money? And whether you grew up rich or poor or somewhere in the middle, there is such a huge story around money. And that made you have the beliefs you have about money today. And if you don't have as much as you want, there's something blocking the flow of money to you. And that is definitely related to your beliefs around money. And this is, directly related to then your ability to charge what you're worth. Because if you feel that rich people are bad people and they rape and pillage the environment and humanity and animals and, our seas, our oceans, our planet, if you believe that deeply, that they're greedy and bad people, then you absolutely have a block to bringing more money to you, because you really deep down think that if you become rich, that you will change, and you don't want to do that, right? So these are like the subtleties that you need to start looking at within yourself to know, what do I really believe about money? And the thing is that money is just energy. Like if you think about money as an entity, money is neutral, Money's just going where it's invited to go. So if you have any hate toward money, money's like, well, I don't want to go over there, It's not welcome over there, so I'm not going to go over there. But if you love on money, right, every moment of every day, and you change your money story, then watch what happens. Money starts to want to be around you. When you start to think about this, that money is not the root of all evil, really. It's, the people that have been just easily calling money in and using it for not so good things. So it's really time on the planet that we actually, conscious people, spiritual people, awake people, need to start getting more money in our hands so that we can affect the change we want to. We really do no good by being poverty stricken or, worried or struggled about money. So this is the number one work, guys. Like, if we don't do this, then it doesn't matter what strategy you put in place. I even talk with my clients about this, This is number one. I give them a strategy and I tell them exactly how to do this, to automate their client leads, raise their prices, all this stuff, right? I tell you how to do the business part of this. But without the right mindset, without the belief, without the welcoming of more money, the expansiveness of your energy field to hold more wealth, doesn't matter, because it just won't come to you. You just won't attract it. So any questions on that so far? Anything coming up around that? And I'm going to just share with you a little bit of my story and like how I've, healed a lot of what was informing a lot of my money story for a while. Take a sip of my coffee. So I grew up in a pretty much single, I don't know, maybe some of you have heard my story before, but, as it relates to money, my mom was a single mom, and she worked like a dog to care for my brother and I. And so, that was, yeah, Jen, sure. Yeah, I mean, to answer your question before I go further into my story, I would just sit down and write what your beliefs are currently, like currently what your money story is around, that happening. So like it may be something like, I am not capable of handling money. I don't know how to handle money because my parents didn't know how to handle money. Therefore, I didn't learn how to handle money. Therefore, I don't know how to handle money. So there's a belief there. And these are where, even if you attract money, a lot of times when people attract money, then the money just goes away. They can't actually hold the money because they hold beliefs that they can't actually manage the money. So, just sitting down and really investigating what are your beliefs based on not happening with your parents about money. So what I was just going to say about my parents is, of course, my dad, it's like a whole nother story, and he's like an alcoholic, and, so he never was able to build any kind of financial sustainability for himself. But my experience was mostly watching my mom just work to support us, and she did an amazing job. One of the things, though, I learned was that money was a struggle. She had to work really, really, really hard. It was never guaranteed, so that she always had to worry about it coming. She never believed in a constant state of flow of money, and that money's just circulated. And, she also didn't manage her money really well. So she, she was just constantly worried and struggled. So I really took that on for a long time, was that money, I can't hold money that I didn't work so hard for. So that's like another level of, wow, what about time freedom? And if I'm not actually like working so hard, can I actually, and do I deserve to hold a lot of money, for me to just give my gifts to the world? So that was something I had to look at. And then when I think back generationally before that, kind of like to your point, Jen, it's not just even my parents. Before that, my parents grew up in Ireland, and, they left home at like 15 years old because there was not enough food and money. They lived on farms, and so they went to London to work. They didn't even finish high school. So that's sort of like what their experience was, and then what my grandparents' experience was, and then before that, it wasn't like a wealthy line. It was working class, probably, like middle class in Ireland, but working class people, to just put food on the table. And definitely it's so worth looking at, that even for you. It's not just your parents. It's like, this has been going on for generations. So, one thing that came to me recently was this knowing that, without my grandmother and my great-grandmother and these women before me, without them actually going out and like milking cows and, cleaning up the farm and the land and, like picking the food and whatever else they did, they didn't eat. So this is where my like deep-seated belief through even my mom's experience, and she held that for a long time, which is like money is a struggle and you have to work really hard for money. So that's like part of my story, and it was always a struggle. And, I made the decision really early on in my life, though, that I wanted to be financially free. I know that that's a big part of my dharma in this lifetime is to create, like huge financial freedom for myself, to be an example for other women that it's possible for us to create our own wealth, doing what we love. So I have gone to work, I got educated and went to school, and then, tried to do the corporate route of becoming wealthy that way. And that wasn't my purpose. And then, found myself in entrepreneur land. And then even in the first probably 3 years of being an entrepreneur, I struggled, and I just kind of like worked really hard and didn't make any money. It was just crazy. This is why I feel so connected to what I do now, is really helping women, change their money story and have a system for actually running their business in a smart way. So some of the things that I've done are to really examine my money story, of course, like really examine my beliefs around money. So I really, a while ago, about 5 or plus years ago, really started to notice how other spiritual people that I were connecting with were really hating on wealthy people. And I started to notice that, and first started to like really kind of get in line with that, but very quickly realized like that was not at all what was going to bring me what I wanted. And I'd have to credit starting to watch The Secret. That was in the very beginning of my spiritual journey, and then learning about the law of attraction really helping me with that. So like the number one thing I think that started to change for me was for me to start celebrating wealth everywhere I went, rather than hate on it. So if someone was driving a car that I really love, be like, wow, that's amazing. I love that they have that car. Or if a beautiful house, or, when I was living in Venice Beach just not so long ago, I was living in a pathway of a private airport. It was kind of annoying. I didn't realize when I rented the house that, planes flew over my head all the time. And I got used to it a bit after a while, but the thing that I reframed, and this is a really good tool to have in your toolbox, is if you notice something come up that's kind of like negative about, money and, that to reframe it. So, it was like one of the things was that it was just private jets flying over my head from Santa Monica Airport. And so every time I just reframed it to be like, wow, that's amazing. Like all these amazing wealthy people, able to take off in their private jet. That's amazing. Like, I want that. How cool is that? Why not? What else is possible? So instead of hating on them and, hating that they have all that money and the freedom and the ability to do that, I celebrated them. And so that was just something I started to do instead of like hating, just welcoming money and celebrating it. Money is an amazing tool for good people to do good things, So that was one of the things that I did. And, over the last year, I really, really, really went to town on like the ways in which I was still maybe having those moments of coming back. So like, how we have these feast moments, you have an experience of more, and then you come back and you go back to the normal state that you've always been in. So a lot of this is talked about in the book, The Upper Limit Problem. I don't know if that's what it's, I don't know if that's the book name, totally drawing a blank, but it's Gay Hendricks, and he talks about the upper limit. I think there might be another name for the book. If anyone knows, you can put it in the comments. But, I love this concept of really understanding that we always recalibrate. We self-sabotage ourselves because the big leap, exactly, Jen, thank you. So, we like get to a new level, we have more wealth, and that feels so uncomfortable, even though that's what we want, and we actually make it so that we come back to where we are. So that was sort of what I had started to experience in my entrepreneur journey. And then I started to look at that and really do a lot of work around that. So, and then most recently was just, the next, it's like constant next level. The money story stuff never really ends, I think, until maybe it does, but it really just is this constant work as you get to new levels. When I got to 20,000 and 30,000 and 50,000 a month, it was like new stuff came up, it was like, now I have to have the capacity, now I have to cultivate the capacity to handle more people, more clients, a team, hiring people, being a boss in a way, and that kind of stuff. And that's all just abundance coming in. That's all like gifts from the universe of abundance. And then we have to have the capacity to handle that. So one of the things that I did most recently in the last few months was reread Think and Grow Rich, which was really, really, really powerful for me. And I had tried to read that before, but I could never connect with it. It's like kind of like a sterile book, but it's on point. It's like the law of attraction, and it was written like I think in the 20s or 30s. So the wisdom there is just, it doesn't expire. It's like really, really, really powerful in our mindset. Our commitment, our discipline, our tenacious, kind of like one-pointed focus on achieving that what we want, and just not letting ourselves deviate. So that's a little bit of my story, and what's happened for me in the last even like month, I'd say, is like I went from going like I would have loved to get to $50,000 at the beginning of the year. I think I would have loved just thinking about that. Then I want $1 million business, $1 million a year business, and now I've just already moved to 5 million a year, and it's like, yeah, that's right, Jess. Totally, it's the same, exactly. The example is great about weight or someone who's trying to achieve that in their body. It's the same exact thing with money. So you have to be really aware of that. The final thing that I would say as well about this is when you're examining your money story, I want you to think about like the very easy ways to start to tap into what your current money story is. So when you go out to eat with someone else, are you always sharing the bill? And are you sharing it and you're thinking, well, they actually ordered a little bit more than I am, and I think that they owe more, okay? This is telling you what is going on with your money story. Are you ever picking up the check for someone else and just being like, you know what, I can do it, and trusting the flow is going to come back in? I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm just saying, like, would that make you super uncomfortable? Or, or are you the person that's really generous but always broke, right? Like, do you spend too much? Are you, when you go shopping, do you look at something and you look at the price tag first? You kind of like it, but you look at the price tag first to even think about whether you would consider it. When you go to a restaurant, do you look at the menu, but you immediately look at the prices? So these are all just directly related to like how your mind is calibrated to money and how much you can handle, how much you can spend, how much you are really tapped into living life the way you want to, based on your feelings, based on your desires, rather than like, can I afford it or not? If that's like at the forefront, then that's really telling a lot about your money story. Yeah, and then like the other thing would be, if someone has something that you want, do you celebrate it, or do you kind of like get mad that they have it and you don't, things like that, examining that throughout the day is a really great way, to really understand what your current money story is. And then sit down and write those things down, and then think about, what would you like it to be? What would you like it to be? For me, so one of the things I have my clients do is write down a big vision for their life. And it's like, it's everything from like, I get a massage once a week. I have a private chef. We fly private or first class all the time. I have a steam and a sauna in my house. I live here. A lot of this people would feel, if I said that to you, a lot of times if people have a really poor money story, that would make them feel very uncomfortable. They would feel that that was greedy, it's too much, and it's out of reach for them. It's never possible for them. So this is one way to tap into, like, what's your calibration of money? Do you feel like, hell yeah, that's what I'm going to have? Hell yeah, that is what I'm going to have. I want that. That sounds amazing, and I'm going to have it. Or you're like, I don't need that. It's okay. That's only for those people over there. and they probably do bad things as well with their money, and I don't want to be one of those people. So you know what I mean? Like, this is a great way to start to like really understand the way your mind probably subconsciously thinks about money. It's been thinking like this for a long time, therefore it's sort of subconscious. You're not really thinking about it. You're not even looking at whether that's normal or not normal, or wealth inducing or wealth creating, or opening to more wealth, or it's actually making money stay away from you. All right, any other questions? I'll just kind of like finally just say how this relates to charging more prices. Is obviously we want to charge more so that we can make more money in our business and work less, honestly. And, so that, not like so that we don't have to work, but so that we can actually give okay, Jen, cool. I'll get to it in a second. So that we can actually give like VIP results to our clients when we're not like working like crazy person, right? When we make more, we're able to do more. And so that's why your money story matters, because, all the tools and blah, blah, the tricks and tips and all that doesn't matter. If your money story sucks, it just doesn't matter. So look at your money story and even write it down, and then write a big vision for yourself with all those like amazing, like abundant, luscious desires you'd like to have in your life every day. Like, get connected to that. It's really powerful. The second biz still feels somewhat separate. I want to only focus on one, but feel guilt. Okay, so the thing that first comes to me there is, why do you feel guilt about anything? Because the thing is, guilt, if that's true, and I'm not judging you, Jen, but if that's true, that you are holding guilt about not doing something that you potentially feel intuitively that you don't want to do anymore, guilt and shame are the lowest vibration feelings that you can hold. And so no judgment, we all have semblances and stuff like that of guilt and shame going on in ourselves, but it's like the feelings that we need to look at the quickest and get rid of. Because we don't want to hold that in our body. It's like extremely toxic. I was saying to one of my mastermind clients the other day, like, she really struggles a bit with really, honoring her yes and honoring her no, and not being a people pleaser. And so I'm like, I was asking her, what do you owe anyone else? If your answer is no, your answer is no. And that's just done. You didn't owe anyone anything. It's just you. It's not being unkind. You don't owe anyone anything. If the decision is, this is not a yes for me anymore, then it's not a yes for you anymore, and there's no guilt to hold about that. I can't help you choose between those two businesses because it's not my decision to make. You have to kind of go in and think about intuitively what you want there. You know what I mean? But if there's a guilt wrapped up in it, that's a big signal. That's a big sign to me. Like, there's some murky stuff going on in there, and you don't really want to continue that in your life. And then you just really gonna have to decide what it is that you really want to do. Like really own what you want to do. And if you don't do that, then you will find yourself constantly never getting to that ultimate place of like, this is what I'm doing, I'm going for it 100%. Because you're like, I don't know, I'm kind of between here and there. It's a confused energy to the universe. The universe gets very confused by that and can't help you manifest and co-create it with you. Does that make sense? I have a call coming up in 3 minutes, but I'm here. Any other comments, questions? Sure, Jen. My pleasure. Okay. Well, if you are listening to the replay, then welcome, and make sure you comment below. Here's your call to action for today. Well, I'd like you to write your money story, but you do not have to write your money story in the comments here and send me your money story. But I would really like you to take, 5, 10, 15 minutes and write out some of the things that you feel are the belief systems you hold around money, people who have a lot of money. What would it mean about you if you had a lot of money? Are you stingy in your life? Are you afraid of the flow stopping? Are you afraid to spend money? Are you afraid to invest in yourself? When you have opportunities to invest in yourself, especially as it relates to personal development, do you constantly say, I can't afford it? I think that's the last thing that I would say to you is like, I stopped a long time ago saying I can't afford it to anything. Absolutely. I never say I can't afford it. Now, that doesn't mean that I can buy anything I want, okay? But I have changed my belief system. And either if I really know that it's for me in that moment, I've been guided to it, I will get resourceful and I will find the money. So I hold this deep belief that the flow will come in and support me. I'll never say I don't have the money. And if it's not for me at that time, then I'll wholeheartedly own the no of that. Yeah, no, I'm not buying a private plane right now. I don't have use for a private plane right now, but maybe sometime in the future, But like an investment in a coaching program, if I really sit with it and I feel it and I'm like, this is exactly what I need, then, and I'm like, not sure where it's going to come from, I will find it. And I will just declare the universe that I will find it. I'll never say I can't afford it. I never say I can't afford it to anything. Okay, so this is a really great way. So for your call to, so I'd like you to write your money story. You don't have to write your money story to me. And then I'd love you to spend 5-10 minutes writing your big vision, like, those little things that I just shared with you, like, where do you live? How much is your house worth? Like, it can be everything from like your partner and your children and to material things, or not material things. Like, what is your life like every day that would be like luscious and juicy and abundant and prosperous and wealthy and amazing? Like your dream, that you're like, oh my God, if that happened, I would be like, oh my God. So that's really great to do. And so, your call to action, I hadn't really thought about this. What would I have you write? Okay, so I think this is what I want to hear is like that you wrote your money story. You don't need to post the money story for me, but you post your number one takeaway from examining your money story. The number one takeaway that you didn't realize really was going on that is dictating how much money is coming to you, either from this video, writing your money story, something like that. Okay, that's what I want to hear. And, just understanding that if you're so much time and energy every single day, love has to be put towards mastering this. This isn't like, oh, cool, I got it, and then you move on. Nope. This is like millionaire wealthy mindset is something we work on every single day. Okay? Love you all. I'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be talking about other really amazing stuff that will be really helpful for you in making more money. Bye.